please don't try to relive your regrets through your children. The parent is just giving them grief because they didn't field the ground ball right and the kid's 4.
Yeah.
It's like there's something in that adult.
Yeah. Lower your expectations. If your 3-year-old is acting childish, that's a good thing because they're a child. But sometimes I think we're holding 12-year-olds to a higher standard than we're holding ourselves. Welcome to the Lead Everyday Show. I'm Randy Gravitt.
And I'm Mark Miller.
And we are excited to be with you today. Thanks for spending just a few minutes with us. Mark, we do about 10 minutes every day just trying to help leaders get better. And most of the time we're talking about becoming a better leader, improving team performance, strengthening organizations. But we have another little lane that we want to run in, and we've been working on this idea of accelerating your success. And I think a lot of leaders are just trying to do better. And last few weeks we've been talking about my new book that comes out next week, Winning Begins at Home, and we've been answering some questions this week specifically. So if you joined us today, you're looking for the answers to some of these questions outside of work, really specifically as it relates to family. And I know there'll be some people listening today that won't fall into this camp, but the question today was, what would you say to a young parent, young mom or dad? What's the best piece of parenting advice that you could give somebody who's got a young family? And I like that we can kind of take a little side road and talk a little parenting today. I know you and I are our kids are grown now, but it's there's some of the things I want to talk about today I think would have been really helpful if I could have gotten those when I was a young leader.
Yeah,
so,
I can't wait to hear what you have to say on this one.
And maybe we should get some grandparenting advice now, right? We've got little grandkids that are,
they say that's how you'll know how good a parent you were. It's how your grandkids turn out.
Okay, well,
So,
I don't
know if that's even true or not,
Remains
but-
to be seen. I've got 8 of them, 3 and under, so it's kind of hard to tell. at this
You're
point, but
going to know
it's like a little
something soon.
preschool. We're
Yeah.
going to know something pretty soon, but
Yeah.
they're a lot of fun to hang out with so far. And my favorite part is you can send them home when you're done.
That is good.
That's good.
That is good.
You don't have to try to get them to sleep all the time. Let the moms worry about that at this point. So that's good. So best parenting advice that I would give, I would say there's a few things I'll talk about here, and I'm sure you've got a couple things as well. I would say, though, it goes back a little bit to what I talked about yesterday with choosing the right person, but I would say it a little
You get to
differently
choose
here.
your kids?
No, you get to choose. That's a good call out. Choosing your spouse, marrying the right person. But I would say here is the best thing you can do for your kids is to build what I would call, and what I've heard called, a spouse-centric home, where your marriage is the most important relationship in your home, not your relationship with your kid. Now, you want to have an important relationship with your kid. I got that. They're going to be demanding. You're not going to have to, your spouse will kind of move to the back burner if you're not careful, and everybody's trying to parent the kids. And I see so many homes that become kid-centric. I heard somebody describe this one time, and I thought that was such great language, that we want to have a spouse-centric home, not a kid-centric home, because your kids they're going to be the center of the whirlwind if you're not careful. And I don't think it has to be that way. I think the best thing you can do for your kids is build a great marriage and give them a stable home to grow up in. So that's one of the things I would say.
Okay.
I don't know if you got a thought there. You want to respond to that?
Yeah.
I know your mom and dad were married a long time,
Sure.
50 something years. Mine were as well. And I think there's, and I don't know that they always got this right. And my mom, still around, she probably would say we could have done better, but I just think there's tremendous stability when you know that your parents are together, and there's now you can be together and not be together.
Sure.
You see that as well too.
And I agree that's a wonderful gift if you can give that to your
and
kids.
not
but we
everybody
know
has
that
received
a
that.
lot of people
No, that's exactly right.
can't do that.
I think in the introduction I talk about, I think it's been trending around 50% of homes end up in divorce, for
Right.
years. I mean, that's
Right.
been the stat that you hear for decades. And so that's not always the case.
Right.
But if you have a choice, I mean,
Sure.
build a great
So
marriage.
So
That's
I've
one
got
of
an
the things.
idea that I think will apply even if the parents aren't together when you're talking about raising those kids. And this is probably a blinding flash of the obvious, but since most of you listening are leaders, it's the same challenge you have in the workforce. leaders, the best ones, treat people as individuals. I
Mm.
think if you're trying to create rules and treat everybody the same, you might be a manager, but you're not a very good leader. The leader leans into the strengths and the needs and the desires and
Yeah.
the concerns of the person they're trying to lead. And so I think this gives us an advantage if we'll be intentional.
Yeah.
Again, I think that's been the subtext for the last couple weeks. If you'll be intentional at home and you'll parent each child based on their strengths, their needs, their hopes, their desires, their concerns, I think you'll feel the connection and the resonance. I mean, again, it won't. I don't think it'll be perfect, but
No.
but if you try to treat them the same, I can tell you from mine that would not have worked.
Yeah, I've joked for years. We have the 4 girls, and you'd think they would all be the same. I mean, they ate the same Cheerios and even wore the same clothes. I mean, but they're
Lived in the same
they
house,
lived
same
in the
parents.
same house. More than one bathroom. They didn't have to share
I
that
got
after we built the house.
And
But
I know your girls. And
but
they're
they're
different.
I've said for a while they're north, south, east, and west. I mean, they are just so there's some similarity, but there is so much uniqueness in each person, and I think that is a great call out. Really, no matter who you live with, there's just going to be uniqueness there. So that's a good one. I would say another thing I would recommend to young parents is lower your expectations, and I'll give you a couple of examples. So if your 3-year-old is acting like a child or acting childish, that's a good thing because they're a child. I mean, I think sometimes we expect them to be at some other level.
we want them to grow up
We want them
way
to grow
too
up
fast.
Way too fast. We start comparing them to what somebody else puts on their Instagram page, and that's just not reality.
Mhm.
We need to let a kid be a kid, and I think as they get older, if I'm not careful, I'll begin to make a big deal out of small things. I mean, there's just things that are not going to matter 20 years from now, and I'm just going to draw a line in the sand. That's not
Mhm.
what I want to do. You want to have a relationship with it, with him or her. You got to lower the expectations a little bit. And if I held myself to the same standard, I know a lot of people, a lot of leaders are like, oh, I held myself to a higher standard than anybody does. And that's probably true. But sometimes I think we're holding 12-year-olds to a higher standard than we're holding ourselves. And that just kills a relationship. It's just not what we want. And so I'd lower those expectations, lower maybe my tone of voice. What's the old proverb? Gentleness turns away wrath, or it lets anger go away. I mean, it's like, I think gentleness is a really great approach. And, especially with a young heart, we want to connect with their heart, not with their behavior. If you connect with their heart, their behavior typically is what it ought to be. But if you're just harsh and you're trying to, point stuff out all the time, that doesn't seem to work. So there may be somebody out there listening. Go back to what I said a few days ago. Somebody told me one time, you're never persuasive when you're abrasive. And I think that's true. I think when we're harsh in our communication, that cuts off relationship. So that'd be another thing, another little piece of advice I'd give.
Yeah, a couple more quick ones. One is, please don't try to relive your past regrets through your children. Like, you wanted to be on the varsity team, so you're going to raise a kid that's going to make the varsity team.
Yeah.
Or you wanted to be the captain of the cheerleaders, so don't try to raise a kid from infancy that's going to take that spot that you never got.
Yeah, they may not even like
the things that you liked.
Yeah.
And I have this sense, particularly for some of the parents, and we've tried not to do this. We've not gotten it all right either. But I see some of the parents, to your last point, who are so demanding, and there's something going on deep inside there. It's not about that 4-year-old.
That's right.
That the parent is just giving them grief because they didn't field a ground ball right and the kid's 4.
Yeah.
It's like there's something in that adult.
Yeah.
And I think it has to do with their past. And so let's don't relive our missed hopes, dreams, and opportunities and project those onto our kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that go to the little league field, go to the ballpark, and you'll get, this will be tested. This will be tested. You can go there and remember, it's a game. You're there to have fun, or if you're dancing, you're dancing. You're going to make a mistake, whatever. It's got to be some fun. And I think childhood, one of the things I love about my childhood when I look back is that we're having a lot of fun. We're out playing ball and doing stuff.
Justin played a lot of sports, and I don't know when I started doing this, but I think he was probably 4 or 5 The last thing I'd say to him before he took the field in any one of his 37 sports
Yeah.
was play hard and have fun.
Play hard and have fun.
Play hard and have
That's
fun.
just great advice.
Play hard and have fun.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. Hey, I got one more.
Okay, yeah,
We're
jump
about
in
out
there.
of time
It's
here.
good.
If you're a person of faith, pray for your kids.
I love that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that will make more difference than you could ever imagine.
Well, I'll just kind of, my wife always, she's got kind of a reputation with our kids because she would pray that, pray for them, in a positive way, but she would also pray if there's stuff going on with them that I need to know, reveal it to me. And maybe she had a direct line to heaven. I think she does, because the girls were always like, how did you know that? I mean, it's like, she always found stuff out, and it's like, it would be crazy, but yeah, I think praying for your kids, that's a great one. I love that. All right. So today, as we land, let me give you a little call to action. As you think about the best thing you could do for your kids, I would say evaluate your relationship that you have with your spouse and ask, is there something you can do to level that up, help that to be better? It'll be not just better for your kids. It'll actually be better for you and your husband or your wife. And then are there some places there where you can, some of the things that we talked about today, you need to lower your expectations and be a little more positive. I like Mark's words there. If your kid's involved in something, remind them, work hard and have fun. If they're in a game, play hard and have fun. If they're working on their music or their homework or whatever, work hard and have fun. I mean, I think there's some things that we can do that really can make us a parent that the kids ultimately on the backside will want to come back and have a relationship. And maybe that's the best advice at all, is just let's live in such a way that our kids would want to come back at some point. That'd be a cool, maybe end in mind way to end the episode here. All right. Remember, the best leaders lead every day.